Hey there, viewers. Welcome back to Grumpy Monkey Garage, where today I'm going to give you a good defense of Hyundai and Kia. All right, so we're joined now by Raven, our lead tech here, who owns a Hyundai Kia product, Kia Forte. And how many miles do you have on that now?
206K.
And how many engines and transmissions have you gone through?
None.
None, because they're not horrible. Not all of them anyway. Kia and Hyundai is getting a really bad rap lately because they're having a lot of recalls. And I just kind of wanted to put that into perspective because I don't actually hate Kia and Hyundai. Now, I will say they do have issues. So I'm going to go ahead and address them right now so that you can stop typing, you bunch of haters, in the comments. The 1.6 liter, any of them, turbo and non-turbo from Kia and Hyundai both, they have an oil consumption issue that leads to engine failure. The 2.0 is randomly locking up, and the 2.4 is knocking, farting, and eating its timing chain and, destroying itself. Those three are not good. They have their issues. Kia Hyundai corporate is replacing these engines under warranty. They've extended the warranty. They are going to have to do a mass recall on these things, and they are handling it. But I really don't think we should give them all a bad rap based on this batch of engines. I feel like Kia really went out there to become a good, reliable brand when they changed how they were doing things in like 2010-ish was, I think, when I noticed the quality change. They really went with a cheap product that you could afford to maintain. It doesn't cost a lot to maintain these cars, and they're just very simple, and they start every time. I mean, even when you have a quart of oil in them, they were starting, and that is a problem because they're destroying themselves, but they were just very simple. But I think that's actually come to bite them in the butt because they can be stolen with a USB stick. So these Kias are now, stolen on the regular, but it's because they went with the tried and true key design instead of the bullcrap push button start nonsense.
Yeah.
So I think that they're getting punished for their simplicity. They went with a solid rear, suspension that moves up and down on a shock and spring basis. They didn't do any complex nonsense. They just went with a very simple platform, and they've been pretty reliable. I really hate to see a company that has the consumer's best interest and really tries to develop and innovate a really good, reliable, cheap product get absolutely slammed by companies like Consumer Reports for, oh, your stuff is crap because of these reasons. But they, owning one, you've owned one for a long time. You've delivered pizzas before you worked here, and now you've worked on 1 million Kia Hyundai products here. What's your perspective on it?
I've had that car since I was 17, and I have not taken care of it. But she still starts.
So how long did you go between oil changes before you were a mechanic?
Maybe a year.
Panic.
Yeah.
A year of delivering pizzas too. That's
I
what,
know.
like 100,000 miles with no oil change?
Hell of miles, and I didn't know much about cars, and neither did my family. Like, my dad didn't know shit, and my mom didn't know anything. So I just drove it until scary lights popped up, and then I found out, hey, you should probably change your oil. I'm like, oh.
That checks out. So definitely need to take care of these cars. But even if you don't, here's a perfect example. That's a 1.8 in the Kia Forte, and it's been a really good platform for some people. I do think their innovation has been good over the years. We've got the Kia Soul. Do you remember the marketing for the Kia Soul, the little hamsters? I'm gonna have to show you a clip of what that looks like here on the screen. See, that was pretty good marketing. That was the little hamster dudes really got you for some cheese, huh?
I'm feral for cheese.
Okay, then. Anyway, so I like the fact that they really sold well, and the Kias did really good in that aspect, that they saw a market and they filled it. Most people don't want to sit low to the ground. They want to sit higher up. They don't want to lose the gas mileage, though. They like to have a lift back, but nobody ever hauls anything who says they want to haul stuff. They don't do it. So then they came up with a 4-door that sits up higher, that's affordable to buy, and was pretty reliable. I don't hate the Kia Soul. I think it was a good innovation. Also, nobody ever talks about the Tiburon, and I think the Tiburon is a sexy car. I like the Tiburons. I think they're great. We did a whole review on my Tiburon. I used to own one. I had a fantastic time with it. I will say that the old ones, I think mine was a 01, 02, somewhere in there. The plastic was just, I don't know. My cameraman was riding with me in that video, and I was trying to make the cluster work because the electronics had gone out. And I went to hit the top of the dash to make the cluster work, and my fist went through the dash and just concaved the dashboard.
Nice.
And it just shattered. It was obliterated. And I was broken because I was like, damn it. But I think the later generations really got that much better control going on, although I do replace a lot of Elantra door handles. But aside from that, I replaced a lot of Honda Accord door handles too, so I can't really complain. It's not really a Kia issue. But again, at almost a third the price of every other vehicle you can buy that is reliable, how can you really hate Kia Hyundai? They're cheap, they're easy to maintain, they work well in a crash. I've seen many crashes with these and the people are surviving it. That speaks for itself. They do have their issues, but what brand doesn't? I do want to talk about Ford's recall. Do you know about any of these recalls? We didn't really
I don't think I've heard about Ford. I've heard mainly like Chrysler and GM.
Chrysler has some great recalls, but I want to talk because Kia's getting hit with all these recalls and they're unreliable. Look at all the recalls. Well, let's bring up every other brand's recalls and just put it in perspective. Kia has an engine problem and their solution is to give you a free engine. I think that's a great solution to that problem. Isn't that fair? Hey, we made a mistake, here's a new one.
Yeah.
It seems pretty reasonable the way they would handle it. Ford, in 1993, had to issue a recall on the Ford Explorer. Because you have another one?
This is my third.
Okay. Ford had an issue with their Ford Explorers flipping over and crashing randomly. You'd be driving down the road, they blamed the tires, Firestone got involved in the lawsuit. It didn't go well for Ford, but they really pushed the blame off to Firestone. In fact, I'm sure people in the comments are going to go, it's Firestone. Those are the Ford fans. But you decided to use those tires on your truck with no pre-testing. So it's still ultimately your responsibility to check your equipment. But anyway, they had a tire problem. The vehicles were flipping over and killing people. These engines seizing up. I could say it could put you in dangerous situations. But it's not flipping you upside down and immediately murdering you randomly. Honda, more recent than that one. That Ford one is way back in the 90s. Honda much more recently, like 2010-ish. I'll have to put the exact year on here when they issued this. But the Earth Dreams engine, the 2.4, it's in like the Accords, but mostly the CRVs were affected by this recall. The fuel injectors overfuel. So instead of shooting like, 3 particles of fuel, they're shooting like 100.
Ooh.
And then it goes past the piston into the oil pan, and the gasoline is mixing with the oil. And gasoline is a lubricant, but what is it mostly?
Detergent.
It's a cleaner. Well, it's cleaning the bearings clean out of the engine and destroying it.
Yep.
So it's destroying the motors. So Honda also has an engine explodey problem, but nobody seems to be complaining about that because the Honda fanboys walk around all day just beating themselves to Honda. VTEC, 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 VTEC. Bunch of weirdos. Toyota. I know. It's heresy to talk bad about Toyota. But they did address their problem similarly. Toyota had an oil consumption problem with their 2.4s, the 0-20 engines. And their solution was, we'll give you a new engine. But they gave you a window. We'll give you a new engine if you bring it in from this date to this date, and then we're not doing it anymore. We're not going to take a loss on this. And they did that. If you brought your car in from this date to this date, they will give you a free engine. Those dates are all closed now, so if you own a 2.4 and it's burning oil and you didn't take care of it then, or you bought it used, they're not going to take care of you now, but just keep oil in your 2.4, it'll last forever. GM. Oh, good old General Mess. Ever since they're not real Chevy anymore and they're now half Opel product garbage.
Yeah.
The new 5.3 and 6.2s, I love the recall warning. They literally posted a recall saying if you have a heavy-duty truck, don't park it in your garage. Park it outside and don't drive it because it'll randomly become the Human Torch. Or in this case, the pickup torch, I guess. It's lighting on fire randomly with no warning whatsoever. They have to recall all the fuel lines. There's a TSB. I'll try to post the whole information here, but their trucks are catching on fire. And then the Chrysler one you're familiar with. Do you remember what that one was? Do you want to tell the people?
The shifters being confusing.
The shifters being confusing, but also the knobs on the truck.
Well, there were two that they recalled. There was the one shifter. It looked like a weird alien egg.
We'll show you a picture.
Yeah, and it was confusing so many people. It caused like 121 crashes, I think, just because.
So far.
So far, because I couldn't figure it out. And I'm like, what was wrong with the
Chrysler
click in the
owners.
stick, that you move?
Yeah, you push the button
and
you shift.
D means drive, all right.
Right, yeah.
And then the other one was the shift knob. It looks like a tuning your radio. And those would just randomly go and identify as neutral and they can roll away.
Or, more funny, we had a roofing company we used to work for who had Dodge Ram pickups, and they were driving down the road. They had their ladder rack on the roof and a dash cam. It's beautiful footage. I don't think I'm allowed to share that footage. But they were driving down the road, and the truck identified as being in park randomly, and it brought the truck to a screeching halt, and all the ladders just ejected off the roof.
Yep.
The dude in the video, he's like panicking. He's like, "What the hell was that?" And just all these ladders just javelin off the roof rack. It was pretty amazing. That was a great repair video because they hadn't recalled it yet. I had just order a new shifter and put it in there for them, and then shortly after that, transmission went out. Don't know why. It's a mystery. Yeah. But yeah, we were able to fix that for them. But that was just Dodge, Chrysler, GM, Toyota, Honda, Ford. Everybody's having recalls that are detrimental. So the fact that they keep hating on Kia and Hyundai, I really don't like that. I feel like they're handling it perfectly acceptably. Hey, we made a mistake. We admit we made a mistake. Here's a solution. We're going to extend your warranty. Like, they're just doing everything they can. Why are people still crapping on these cars? I think it's because they get stolen easily. But I think it's because they were using the tried and true methods that they already knew. Like, this works, this is reliable, nobody ever complains these break, let's just keep using it.
Yeah, it's like the
and then the thieves figure it out.
Like the old Chevy trucks. Like, if it worked the first time, why not just keep using it? It's obviously working fine.
The 4.3 will last forever. From the 80s to now. They can't see that, that's out of frame. We're doing a 4.3 S10 engine swap right there.
Yeah,
that's what she's
idiot error,
that's what she's pointing at. Yes, this is another victim of another shop. Yeah, so I don't hate Kia and Hyundai. You should look into them. Definitely do your research, though, because you really want to get the 1.8 engine, and some of their V6s are good, too. So I would just make sure you do your research, but don't discount them. I really like them as a company. I think they're trying their best to provide affordable quality vehicles. I really think they're making an effort.
And it's worked for me. I mean, I've had that car forever. I have put that car through hell, and she will still start. She's like, all right, we're going places.
Hell, a ditch, backing into my truck.
Yeah, I've hit a truck. I smashed into a ditch. I've hit a couple trees, some curbs, you know.
A Corolla.
The Corolla was fine.
It's a Corolla, like, it's going to be fine.
Like that poor little car, but that 1.8 does not give up. She is still going strong.
It's been through a lot, but I agree. The 1.8, very, very strong. I think that's probably one of their best engines, actually, is the 1.8.
I'm very happy I ended up with that car.
But Kia, Hyundai, this is an in-defense video. They had their issues. They acknowledge their issues. They're fixing it. Yeah. Just like everybody else. When they have their issues, they acknowledge, they fix it. Of course, there are companies who, 5.4 Triton, they don't admit they have a problem, and they just bury it and say, it's fine, even though it's a piece of crap and ought to be used as a boat anchor. Anyway, that concludes our video. Be sure to watch us for other engine and brand updates and top 5 videos and some of our challenge videos where we put these old cars to the test. We'll see you next time on Grumpy Monkey Garage. I'm Andrew. That's where you say I'm Raven. I'm terrible at being a TV host.
I'm Raven.
Okay. Bye. All right. Go back to your cheese sticks. See you next time.